Good day to all. In this video, we will be learning about what is Consumer Protection Act 2019. Let us get into the video. First, let us see a brief introduction about the Act. Consumer Protection Act 2019 was enacted to replace the outdated Consumer Protection Act of 1986. It addresses the modern needs of the consumers. With rapid growth in e-commerce, digital transactions, and the increasing complexity of consumer markets, the 1986 Act was no longer sufficient to protect the interests of modern consumers. This new act introduces enhanced mechanisms for protecting the consumer rights, regulating misleading advertisements, addressing product liability, and streamlining the dispute redressal processes. It aims to strengthen the legal framework and empower consumers with greater authority and protection. Next, let us see about the objectives of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. First one is protection of consumer rights. The primary goal is to satisfy and safeguard the consumer interests by ensuring protection against unfair trade practices, defective goods, and deficient services. Consumers are also entitled to be informed about the quality, quantity, and price of goods and services. Say, for example, if a consumer purchases a smartphone online and receives a defective product, the seller is obligated to either replace the product or refund the amount paid. Failure to do so allows the consumer to seek redressal through the appropriate consumer commission. Second one is establishment of consumer dispute redressal mechanism. It provides consumers with an accessible and efficient system for resolving grievances. The Act establishes a three-tier Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, that is CDRC, at the district, state, and national levels to hear and resolve complaints based on the value of the claim. The third one is promotion of fair trade practices. To prevent unfair and deceptive trade practices such as misleading advertisements, false claims, and hidden charges, the Act mandates that businesses provide accurate information about their products and services to enable consumers to make informed decisions. Say, for example, a food product advertised as 100% organic contains harmful chemicals or preservatives. This is an instance of misleading advertisement. Under the Act, the Central Consumer Protection Authority, that is CCPA, can impose penalties on the company and demand corrective action. Fourth objective is empowering consumers through awareness and education. To educate consumers about their rights, responsibilities, and available grievance redressal mechanisms, consumers' awareness is essential for making informed choices and recognizing deceptive practices. Campaigns such as Jago Grahak Jaho have been instrumental in educating consumers about their rights, encouraging them to report unfair trade practices, and helping them understand the complaint filing processes. The next objective is regulation of e-commerce and digital transactions. Now, this is the most important objective of the Act to regulate e-commerce platforms and protect consumers from fraudulent practices in the digital marketplace. The Act mandates that e-commerce entities provide complete product information, adhere to fair pricing policies, and ensure transparency in transactions. For example, if a consumer orders a product from an online platform and receives a counterfeit item, the e-commerce company is responsible for addressing the grievance. The platform is also required to provide a mechanism for redressal and refund. Now, let us see the key definitions under the Consumer Protection Act 2019. This Act introduces various key definitions to clarify the scope of consumer rights and obligations of service providers, manufacturers, and sellers. Understanding these definitions is essential for comprehending the legal framework that protects consumer interests. First is definition of a consumer. First, let us know who is a consumer. As per Section 2, subsection of the Act, a consumer is defined as Any person who buys goods or hires or avails services for consideration, that is, payment, either for themselves or for someone else, with the consent of the original buyer. This also includes the consumers who purchase goods or services online or through teleshopping or by electronic means. Now you can ask, so who is not a consumer? A person who buys goods or avails services for resale or commercial purposes is not considered a consumer. However, purchases made for self-employment or livelihood are exceptions to this rule. Example, consumer is a person buying a refrigerator for personal use. A person who is buying refrigerators in bulk for resale purposes is not a consumer. Now, for this exception, a tailor purchasing a sewing machine to run a small business is still considered a consumer. Now, let us go to the definition of goods. As per section 2, subsection 21 of the Act, goods refer to tangible, movable property that can be bought or sold. The definition includes digital products as well. Say, for example, tangible goods are electronic goods, household items, clothing, etc. Digital goods include e-books, software downloads, and mobile applications. Then let us go to definition of services. As per section 2, subsection 42 of the Act, services include any kind of service provided to consumers for consideration. This covers a wide range of services such as banking, insurance, telecom, housing construction, entertainment, and e-commerce. Now we'll go about misleading advertisement. As per section 2, subsection 28 of the Act, misleading advertisement is any advertisement that falsely describes a product or service, gives a false guarantee or representation, deliberately conceals information, misleads consumers about the nature, substance, or quality of the product or service. Say, for example, a misleading claim contains a company advertising a health supplement as 100% effective in curing diabetes without scientific evidence. An example for false endorsement is a celebrity endorsing a beauty product claiming instant results that are not scientifically proven. Next, we will see the definition of unfair trade practices. As per section 2, subsection 47 of the Act, unfair trade practices refer to deceptive, unethical, or manipulative business practices that harm consumer interests. This includes false representation of goods or services, misleading advertisements, non-issuance of proper bills or receipts, hoarding and black marketing of goods, offering goods or services with known defects. Some of the examples: false claims, an online seller promising 24-hour delivery but failing to deliver the product for weeks. A car dealer selling a defective vehicle without informing the buyer about the product is concealing defects. A company artificially inflating prices by creating an artificial scarcity of essential goods are hoarding of goods. Now, let us see about the rights of consumers under Consumer Protection Act. First right is right to safety. Right to safety protects consumers from goods and services that may pose a danger to their life, health, or property. This includes ensuring that manufacturers and sellers provide safe products and services that meet safety standards. Examples for these rights are: a consumer purchasing an electric kettle expects it to comply with safety standards. If the kettle is defective and causes an electric shock, the manufacturer can be held liable for providing a dangerous product. Next, if a pharmaceutical company produces a medicine that leads to harmful side effects due to inadequate testing, the consumers have right to seek compensation for it. Second one is right to information. So, in this, the consumers have access to accurate information about the quality, quantity, potency, purity, standard, and price of goods or services. This right helps consumers make informed decisions and protects them from deceptive practices. The Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, and other regulatory authorities establish safety standards that manufacturers must adhere to. If the consumers find that the standards are not met with, then they can file complaints with the appropriate Consumer Dispute Redressal Committee. Say, for example, packaged food products must clearly display nutritional information, expiry dates, and ingredient lists. If a food item contains harmful preservatives without disclosure, the manufacturer can be held accountable. An online retailer must provide detailed information about the product, including specifications, warranty, and return policies. The next right is right to choice. The right to choice ensures that consumers have the freedom to choose from a variety of products and services at competitive prices. It protects consumers from monopolistic practices and coercion that may force them to purchase goods or services they do not want. Say, for example, a consumer has the right to choose a telecom operator based on quality, pricing, and network coverage. They cannot be forced to continue with a service provider offering substandard services. Then, consumers shopping for groceries have the right to choose between brands of the same product based on their preference and budget. The next right is right to be heard. This ensures that consumers can voice their grievances and concerns about a product or service. Consumers have the right to expect their complaints to be acknowledged and addressed promptly. For example, if a consumer purchases a faulty mobile phone, they have the right to file a complaint with the seller or manufacturer and expect a resolution. A consumer dissatisfied with poor service from a bank has the right to raise a complaint and seek redressal. Next, we have right to seek redressal. This entitles consumers to seek compensation for defective goods, deficient services, or unfair trade practices. Consumers can claim a replacement, refund, or compensation for damages suffered. A consumer purchasing a defective vehicle has the right to demand repair, replacement, or a full refund. Or if a company promotes a product with misleading claims, consumers can seek compensation for the financial loss or harm caused. Then we have right to consumer education. It empowers consumers with knowledge about their rights, responsibilities, and the avenues available for grievance redressal. It ensures that consumers are informed about how to protect themselves from unfair practices. Jago Grahak Jago campaign. This government initiative educates consumers about their rights, how to identify misleading advertisements, and how to file complaints. Then, consumer organizations frequently conduct programs to raise awareness about consumer rights and grievance redressal mechanisms. Next, you shall have an overview of Central Consumer Protection Authority, CCPA. This was established under the Consumer Protection Act 2019 to protect, promote, and enforce the rights of consumers. It acts as a regulatory body with the authority to address violations of consumer rights, prevent unfair trade practices, and take action against misleading advertisements. The CCPA plays a crucial role in ensuring that businesses operate ethically and consumers are not exploited. So, what can be the objectives of the CCPA? It is to protect consumer interests by preventing unfair trade practices, regulating misleading advertisements and false claims, enforcing consumer rights, and ensuring accountability among manufacturers, safety providers, and advertisers. So, What can we say about the legal framework of CCPA? It was established under Section 10 of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. It functions as a statutory body under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. The CCPA has jurisdiction over all goods and services, including those sold through online platforms and digital markets. The structure of the CCPA includes Chief Commissioner, heads the CCPA and he exercises overall authority. Then it comprises of two commissioners. They assist the Chief Commissioner in executing the mandates. Then we have other members or officers. They support the authority in investigating complaints and taking appropriate actions. Next, we'll see about the hierarchy of consumer dispute redressal commissions. The CDRCs are structured in a three-tier system, each with distinct jurisdiction, powers, and authority to adjudicate consumer complaints. The first one is District Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. It is composed of a president qualified as a district judge, two other members, one of whom must be a woman. Its jurisdiction includes monetary jurisdiction, complaint where the value of goods and services, including compensation, does not exceed 1 crore. The territorial jurisdiction can be the seller or service provider carries out businesses, the consumer resides or works, the cause of action arises. The powers and authorities of District Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission are to hear complaints related to defective goods and deficient services, order replacement of defective goods or refund of the purchase amount, award compensation for mental agony or financial loss, impose penalties on sellers or service providers violating consumer rights. The next we have is State Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. It is composed of President, qualified as a High Court judge, at least two other members, one of whom must be a woman. Monetary jurisdiction includes complaints where the value of goods and services, including compensation, exceeds 1 crore but does not exceed 10 crores. Appellate jurisdiction hears appeals against the orders of the District Commission. Its powers and authority are to review and revise orders passed by district commissions, investigate matters involving great financial stakes or jurisdictional complexity, address cases involving defective goods, deficient services, and misleading advertisements. Then we have National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. It is composed of a president qualified as a Supreme Court judge, four or more other members, one of whom must be a woman. Monetary jurisdiction includes complaints where the value of the goods and services, including compensation, exceeds 10 crores. Appellate jurisdiction hears appeals against the orders of State Commission. Revisionary jurisdiction. It reviews and revises orders passed by lower commissions. Its authorities and powers are to hear high-value complaints involving national or international corporations, resolve disputes where the outcome impacts multiple consumers, impose penalties on manufacturers, service providers, and advertisers. So to conclude, we can say that the consumers must be aware of the rights and benefits available to them through this act. They must also know about the grievance redressal avenues available to them. I hope from this video, you can understand the rights available to you as a consumer and hope to implement all the things you have learned in your day-to-day life. Thank you so much for listening to the class. Thank you once again.